Fnatic is up 2-0 over the Leftovers. A bit of a shaky play in the second game on Infernal Shrines, but they brought it all together towards the end. But Leftovers, their macro is looking solid, and their individual gameplay also matching some of the greatest here in the HGC. But going into game number 3, can they find a way to earn a victory? Because so far it has not been enough.
Yeah, it's going to be still a bit rough for them, and as we said before, a map win alone would already be a success. If they can achieve more, that would of course be fantastic. Every single map counts here for the standings later on, especially if you try to make it either to an offline event or if you try to avoid the Crucible, and that is the first goal of the Leftovers, as they've stated several times. But at this point, they are down 2 maps, and against Fnatic, it's not going to be easy to claw their way back into the series, so maybe on the 3rd map, they can step it up a little bit, but right now, I would still say that Fnatic is just showing that they outclass them, even when the synergy is not 100% on point, as it shows on the last game.
Curious to see if we might get a Dragonshire from them again. They had a game plan the other day against Team Liquid. It didn't pan out for them, but they played Zarya and Gul'dan. The answer is no, we are not going to Dragonshire, as it would appear that Leftovers want to go with first pick once again, which means Fnatic has chosen to go to BOE for the 3rd and possibly final map of the series.
So Fnatic gets all of the map choices here, as first pick is something that the Leftovers highly value in the series thus far. And I'm curious to see how the bans are looking for them, because right now they banned ETC. They basically focus on tanks. They banned Arthas first because they were hoping for a Greymane composition on the first map, and on the second they realized that ETC in Breeze's hands is something they don't really want to deal with on the second map, so they banned him out. And now do they fall back into... this is a map where we could, for example, also see Abathur again, as we said before.
I am kind of curious as to the Hanzo. Hanzo not played or even banned in both of these matches for our teams, as both don't seem to highly value him. We didn't get much Hanzo gameplay from the Leftovers on Friday. We did get a ban from them, but it seems like they have both agreed that, hey, Hanzo's not really for our playstyles.
Yeah, it comes back to what we talked about earlier. Very, very dominant in the first few days, but he has not nearly the participation rate of Genji, for example, or even Greymane. Genji and Greymane are the 2 heroes that globally, across all 3 regions that I've played so far, have been involved in every single game without exception, either as a ban or a pick. And those are the only 2. Hanzo is still pretty high up here, looking at 90% roughly now. A little bit less now that he wasn't chosen in these games, but he's just a hero that teams are willing to let go on occasion.
I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a spooky music going on in the background from BOE, and the entire time you were talking about Hanzo, I felt like Hanzo was the most evilest thing that you've ever talked about in your life.
He is.
He is. Okay, I just wanted to confirm if that was done on purpose or not. Here we go.
He is an Overwatch hero, so that definitely applies.
Well, there it is. Bam. Just dropping it out there. BOE coming in. First, a ban. We'll be heading over to the Leftovers. Will they continue the trend of banning out tanks instantly? No, they say we are not feeling the Genji on this battleground. 2-lane map, a lot of tight fights. Genji's good here, he's gone.
Yeah, ETC also extremely strong and banned out this time by Fnatic. It's a great map for him as well, when we have those stalemates in the middle, making sure that you can just provide a bit of space for the rest of your team, make it very difficult for your opponent to jump into the backline as well. And with Greymane, that's always an issue too. So right now, ETC banned out, and Greymane has been a go-to for the Leftovers, and they choose him as their first pick once again.
On the opposite side, Fnatic has always gone to the Malfurion in their first 2 rotations, but they have mixed it up both times. On the first map, we got the Leo, which was great for 2-mana Spider Queen. On the second map, we got Gul'dan, which is great for Infernal Shrine. So moving into BOE, you could assume that they're going to move into an aggressive damage dealer that can do well against the Immortals. Vol has fallen off pretty dramatically. Greymane has already been taken. Hanzo is an option.
Now, there's a few things. You can go, if you want to play Vala, then a double support is mandatory. You can still aim for Li Ming here. I would opt for Li Ming over Gul'dan. Gul'dan has taken the priority spot for mages on nearly every single map, but I feel that this one is a bit of an exception. But as Li Ming is also not too highly contested, you can always pick her a bit later. But she would fit for both of the teams still. The Leftovers could also use her to poke and then try and complete the kill with Greymane. But Fnatic going into Kharazim and Arthas. Again, showcasing the high priority we expected on Arthas as we headed in on Friday.
Yep.
Since then, he has been a staple, but not as dominant as expected. Karazim, on the other hand, we have seen very few games.
Yeah, Karazim breaking the trend of the Malfurion for Fnatic, but on a battleground where he can do well. Moving into that Iron Fist at level 1 helps you burn down the Immortal, and he has a pretty solid standing against tank compositions. If you see a double tank, you go 7-sided, but that Palm prevents any reset compositions, which could be something that Leftovers go for later on with the ability of having Greymane set up. There's the Muradin and the Rhaegar from Leftovers is staying with the support, and Lauber wants to stick with the Bearded Dwarf.
And Rhaegar is just, to me, that hero, and just watching the way that he develops across regions is insanely funny. It's really something to watch because he has, before we started into the day today, he was involved in 100% of the games in Europe. Since then we had a match between Tricked and Dignitas where he wasn't chosen or was he banned, but overall his involvement rate in the European meta is insanely high. And then you look to North America and you have him with 18% of play of involvement. He was played 3 times, lost every single one. NA hating the Wolf, whereas in Europe he is the most picked support that we actually have.
I think it's also a bit of a playstyle thing. I feel like in North America, when it comes to supports, they want to make plays with their supports. You usually see a lot of Karazim, Malfurion's up in the front line, dropping the ice blocks, and Rhaegar is one of those heroes that if you try to make that play and you go for the wrong bite at the wrong time, you get picked off. Whereas over here in Europe, your Rhaegars want to be a little bit more passive, drop down the heels, and make sure that he hits those critical buttons like Cleanse.
You're baiting the get good at this point,
I'm not
right?
trying to bait it. I'm just saying it feels like that's kind of what it is. The supports in North America, they do enjoy their aggressive tendencies.
I really feel for Europe, one of the things that we are leaving, by the way, as a ban now, as I said before, she would be a fantastic pick for Fnatic here. So Leftovers agree with that sentiment and ban her out. But coming back to the Rhaegar point, I think one of the aspects that Europe highly values with Rhaegar is also the Ancestral in general, having just that panic button available that Uther gives you too. But that's something that Europe for a long time really liked. And we have some teams that nearly exclusively pick Rhaegar. So it's super interesting to just see how the different regions change their, or have a different outlook on different heroes.
Love it. Cassia coming in. I think this is the first time that we get her in Europe. Now, this is usually a Quacknick special. We got a lot last year. I'm kind of curious to see if he'll be playing it once again here. I'm assuming so. Cassia, one of those bullies in grouped up balls of fighting, if that makes any sense. Usually being able to drop down the charge strikes in the middle of a fight. You're going to get that 4v4 typically on the bottom lane, so she can get an aggressive amount of value of that level 1 talent if you give her the chance.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Cassia is now for the first time played in HGC Europe. We have seen her in North America one time, and that game was successful. And we've seen it a little bit more actually in Korea. So overall, she has 5 games played in the first HGC weekend. But for Europe, it's the first time that she makes an appearance. And Tyrael together with her. So once again, Sanctification as a tool, and that can not only help Greymane, it's also fantastic if Cassia can then go in. Or if Greymane engages into you, and you simply drop the Sanctification, that always just immediately makes sure that he doesn't get any value out of the action and finds himself in trouble instead.
And that's layered on there with Arthas, being able to lock into a target, the chain ball bouncing around constantly, the Howling Blast landing as well allows you to start that fight and come in with a final Fin damage if you have the chance. So right now, Fnatic's composition is built around this Cassia and starting to possibly succeed. How does Leftovers intend to handle this? Typically against a Cassia, it's good to have some kind of mage poke damage. You want to be able to hit her and try to avoid that trait that she has available to you. And they decide to move into a Tracer. If Cassia gets low enough, you're able to come in with a Pulse Bomb and finish her off. But what's more special here is that we have the Tassadar.
Yeah, so Tracer, Tassadar. So we have our double support again to highlight the Tracer play. And so far, most teams that have picked Tracer went into the combination with Malfurion instead, which also, of course, forces a bit of more defensive, more like cautious Tracer play. But right now, Tassadar, again, is like the old school composition here. Tassadar, Rhaegar, supporting Tracer, and then you have Greymane on top of that. Let's see how Fnatic deals with it, because they have their front line already. You would expect damage on their end.
Tassadar's actually a really smart pick.
They could pick the double support. They do pick the double support. Nice. We have Oriel being played. So both of the teams go straight into a double support composition for the last map. With Cassia alone, Oriel is definitely a good support to take. And you have with Karazim now also, of course, another hero that can be more aggressive in this case.
So the Oriole coming in with the Cassia, typically one of the heroes that you're actually wanting to pair with an Oriole, alongside Gul'dan, even seen Fallen in the past. Cassia just gives out that quick outburst of damage, which gives you a lot of hope to be able to bring out that healing. And I'm actually very excited to see this. Double support versus double support. How will the Tassadar that has been nerfed pretty dramatically in the last couple of patches come out and fare against him? He is quite weak and easy to pick off nowadays, even with that dimensional shift.
Yeah, you have to get close to him though, and there's the question. If he keeps himself, if he keeps himself a little bit to the back, he should be fine here. It becomes a question of vision, and Tassadar provides that vision for you, so he's going to be his own biggest ally, trying to make sure that he knows where that flank is coming, because if Arthas gets that flank, or if later on Tyrael gets the Holy Ground against him, then that could prove difficult, especially, of course, if Dimensional Shift is on cooldown.
Well, let's find out. Who will win the race on Battlefield of Eternity as we go into game number 3? Fnatic is up 2-0, but the Leftovers, they've been putting up a fight all today. Don't let that score deceive you.
Game number 3, and it could be the last map of the series, as we have Fnatic starting to the left with Mena on Cassia, Bad Benny on Arthas, Quacknix on Karazim, Smexy on Oriel, and Breeze on Tyrael.
Blekini playing the Grey Main on the right side in the red for the Leftovers. DAB will be your Tracer, Lobber playing Muradin, Boss playing Tassadar, and Linked is your Rhaegar.
So at this point, we also see that the switches and roles that we've been talking about earlier are starting to come into play. Quacknix now flexing into Karazim as the second support here, which will allow him also, of course, to show a bit more aggression. We have Mena on Cassia taking over the standard damage dealer on the side of Fnatic. And of course, the setup with the two tanks here, as Benny will hold the offlane. But it's a 2-3 split at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, the 2-3 split was getting pretty common, actually. Last season with the double support trying to peel off. Too much Battlefield was actually quite deadly. Falling off pretty dramatically with the double support kind of falling out, but here it's very appropriate. Karazim and Tyrael in that top lane should be able to hold their own. Don't expect them to do too much in terms of killing that Tracer unless there is a drastic misstep. But so far, our teams will go ahead and handle the lanes.
Yeah, and of course, most of the action is going to come when the border is in place. We have also right now Lightning Fury build on the side of Mena, already having 4 stacks here on the Thunderstroke on level 1. So we're going to keep a closer eye on that. Once his abilities come online, we get Pierce and everything, he's going to be pretty frightening with all the poke that he can push out. But the Leftovers, they have their tools. Greymane is fantastic for the Immortal race as well. We have Tracer for those quick dives into the backline and start to threaten a kill. But that makes it also very... It's actually interesting. We could see both ults out of Karazim right now. 7-sided and Palm. So far, mostly seen Palm from Quacknix, but 7-sided against the solo Muradin frontliner is very tempting.
Yes, it dissuades the Muradin from doing the aggressive jump in that he wants to do into a Stormbolt. To get that instant 7-sided that will burn his health bar quickly. Fnatic continuing to hold on this top side, also grab the Mercenaries in the bottom to keep on the pushing, and Leftovers decide to offset the lane by putting 3 in the top. Quacks, does he have a dodge? He does. Gets away, takes the Bolts Bomb, but still lives. Yeah,
it was really well done here by him, because they did not see that rotation coming. It was pretty late. He already tried to commit to a Tracer kill when they saw the 3rd hero arrive. And in the meantime, Mena is actually doing a pretty fantastic job stacking here on his Q. He's currently sitting at 15, 17 stacks already, and we're talking 2 minutes into the game.
And remember, at 20, the damage increases, and then 40 is where we get the second charge and the mana cost reduction. Is this something that's more common, by the way, on Cassia players, Thunderstroke? I remember Nurok running it a few times last season. Is this something that is picked up pretty often?
Yeah, Nurok started the whole trend in Tomb of the Spider Queen. That was last year. And after that, more and more players tried it out. And at this point, it has become pretty much the standard that you spec a lot into it. We've seen Quacknix at GCWC, even when he was playing Cassia with a bit of a misclick on one of the talents, going for the slow over the Pierce. Very unlikely that that happens. Great invade, by the way, from Fnatic here as they move in and steal the camp away from Leftovers. It's a huge play in this early stage of the game.
No, monumental. Yeah, it's seriously a huge takedown to grab those Mercenary camps, especially in the double support, because remember, you have a harder time clearing nowadays with the latest nerfs. So having that push on the top side puts a lot of pressure on Leftovers and allows Fnatic to turn around and focus on the target they want.
Still noteworthy noteworthy that they did not take their own camp. So they completely committed to the camp of the leftovers, and that made sure that they can't take their own one. So it's still a win for them, but it's not like they have two camps pushing and force their reaction of leftovers on both lanes.
Arthas against Greymane on the bottom side, pushing in. Greymane not being in here allows for the Immortal not to be focused down, which is good for Fnatic. They come over and start poking on their own on the top side. Looking for a few more of those hits from Mene, not connecting with Lobber, but they are threatening the idea of a fight breaking out.
And Mene has hit 21 stacks, so he has already completed half the quest and gets the extra damage as a reward, which makes Cassia even more dangerous now, and that is something that they already feel here. Breeze, on the other hand, is also low, needs to be careful here. Loba is trying to go in from the side, but all of a sudden he finds himself a bit isolated. We have Smexy on Oriel, also in trouble. A lot of damage pushed out by leftovers, but it is Murden who dies first as he gets jumped.
Bad Benny finding the Howling Blast allows Murden to fall. The Immortal race already in favor of Fnatic. They turn around and try to grab the halftime show before their opponents, buying time for the Greymane and Rhaegar on the bottom to burn a little bit of damage in. And they actually get kind of close here. Leftovers looking nice and healthy on the Immortal race. Fnatic comes over to defend.
DAB is eating a lot of punches as Karazim goes in deep. Quacknix really putting the pressure onto him. And now Fnatic turns around and wants to go for the race here. Greymane, of course, is still a bit of an ace in the hole full of leftovers that they're trying to use now to win it. But Fnatic is in position and is going to take the first Immortal.
They grab it. There it is. The Immortal will be pushing for Fnatic. Leftovers, how is their defense? Not too shabby, having the cocktail available. Tracer, she can work in some damage, is great. And Tassadar, his Sonic Storm is annoying to deal with, so they should be able to handle this push coming their way.
Yeah, Mene doing a great job here, dodging once again. Now keep in mind, once that he is able to complete the entire 40 stacks, he gets that second charge and is going to spam that out the entire time. His damage output is going to be pretty crazy, and his stacking is going extremely well for him. The push at the top lane is strong, and Leftovers decided to meet it with 5 players. That leaves Arthas all alone at the bot lane, where he can get value and experience for the blue team.
Fnatic's job here is to poke as much as they can, try and dissuade Leftovers from coming in and breaking the Immortal, but Arthas getting that value on that bottom lane, almost getting to level 8, and trying to deny some experience. Sadly, we know turrets being here, and we'll be able to have them killed off. But Fnatic is trying to meet rotations. Can they catch someone in the middle lane that is moving down? They only see Lobber. Murden, a bit of a hard target to pick.
Yeah, Murden once again on the attempt out here. Gets actually chased, and he needs to be careful. His jump is down, and that's the problem. But they don't want to jump into the keep, and in the same time, they saw also the camp taken at the top, so they knew that there were a few more members of the leftovers just hiding in the shadows, and you don't want to over-engage into fort range when you know that someone can come in from behind and trap you.
The biggest thing that I've taken away from Leftovers so far in this best of 5 series is I really appreciate their macro play and how they take situations and resources from the opposing team and then punish them. Having the Murden in the middle, 3 people being there, chasing down that Murden, they immediately grab the Mercamp on the top side. Doing little things like that is what makes you a great team.
Yeah, I am really right now just a bit afraid that they won't be able to deal with the damage output that Fnatic brings to the table here, because Mene is really fast with this particular talent, with this Q. He's at 37 stacks, he's very likely to complete it for 40, and it's very rough to put the pressure on Cassia with a double support protecting her. Tracer, of course, also having a rough time against Cassia's trade. That's another aspect of it. And Mene has the blind against Greymane when he starts to engage into this. And also engaging not only into the blind, but into Arthas as well. Makes it very difficult for the leftovers to get something done against the damage dealer on Fnatic's side.
Yeah, it seems like Leftovers' main goal here is to try and win the Immortal race, but when you have Fnatic coming to your side of the map and willing to force a fight, that becomes difficult. Bad Mini, Breeze find Lobber and try to slow him down, while Quacknix is working some damage on the Immortal on the left. Yeah,
so they are already getting both here, defense and a bit of aggression, and Quacknix can always move over whenever he has to. They have great zoning, and they know that Greymane is still at the top, so that gives them another edge. Quacknix is now joining up with the rest of the team, at least keeping himself in the area, and they have the head start, and that's all that they needed here.
Nice little head start, Immortal near halftime. DAB comes in, is looking for a fight. The blind comes out from Fnatic. A little bit of a punch comes out from Quack, but the moment the blind expires, he disappears from the fight. DAB chasing here, looking like he may want to land a pulse bomb.
Yeah, the camp at the top lane is actually fantastic for Leftovers. That's something Fnatic will have to react to. And it should give Leftovers also a bit of an edge. 10 should drop any second for them. We already have it on the side of Fnatic, with Valkyrie being chosen. And they go for a kill against Bad Benny. Leftovers with the early kill. Great play by them here.
Yeah, bringing everyone up there to get the kill. Fnatic hoping to get the Immortal phase to go into their favor by going into the halftime show. Actually, they don't even proc the halftime show. It looks like they're waiting here. They want to buy more time, and by allowing Leftovers to do the Immortal, they lose out slightly on the trade, but they get Arthas back. And
the top fort has still fallen. That's something that's important here, because Leftovers walk away with the experience advantage thanks to it. But now we have it. Palm taken, Sanctification, Valkyrie has been chosen too. If they get a good isolation, they can do a lot with it. Especially with Valkyrie, I can't help myself and ask, why not go for 7-sided? It's a great tool to have the Palm, but if you already try to play around isolation tactics, then a quick blow-up would have been pretty fantastic for them.
The poke comes out constantly from Leftovers, ahead in the Immortal phase. Pulse Bomb used, not connecting, as DAB would have liked, and that forces him to pull back and play defense while he tries to work on another charge.
Yeah, in the meantime, everybody tapping at the bottom that had to. So we saw Tyrael move down, and also a little bit earlier Karazim. Now they're going in again, and we see the aggression towards the top. Bodyboss is being zoned out a bit. DAB on his Tracer needs to be careful. Here comes the Valkyrie against Greymane, but the cleanse is there immediately. Link with the save.
Linked with a great cleanse. We also had Quentin get low, but he does get healed up by the Oriole. Smexy keep him alive. Man's trying to find a spot to put some damage in. Give a little more hope for his team so they can top him off, but DAB is not giving him the opportunity at all.
That was a fantastic cleanse, though. It was already a great ult from Mena, just having it in the perfect corridor against Greymane, but then the cleanse completely negating it. That would have been a kill for sure. Right now, Breeze at that font again. Quapnik's looking for opportunities to put some pressure onto Tracer. Pulse Bomb explodes once again. Mena poking from the back with Cassia the entire time. Lightning Fury, one shot after another, but Leftovers are the ones who are getting ahead in the Immortal race.
They are. They're also getting ahead in the team fight. They are much healthier than their opponents. Everyone on Fnatic is low and under half health, and they have called it. Let's go ahead and pull back. We're going to go ahead and defend this Immortal. Leftovers taking the second Immortal of the game.
What really helps the Leftovers here is that Tacita has that constant softening up of the hit point pools with the storms that he has, that we have the poke from Greymane with his cocktail, and of course DAB just zipping around. Not really getting the kills yet that he really would like to get into the backline heroes, but at least pressuring them enough.
So Leftovers with an Immortal and half a shield. Pushing on the bottom side, Archon is still available. Ages will be used and a Sanctification to keep Breeze alive. So two big heroics utilized. Mene chases back Leftovers, but DAB, the moment they see Mene back up, goes back into the engage, trying to find something. Valkyrie comes out, but does not connect.
And Mene once again just poking away with the Lightning Fury. He's really rough to kill for Leftovers. It's a big problem that they can't pressure Cassia as much as they would like. And that's of course one of the main thought process here in the first place. Make sure that your hyper carry is safe, and the two supports do a good job at that. But now the fort is about to fall, not quite down yet, and Fnatic looking to see if they can maybe get a kill as the Leftovers retreat.
Bad Benny's landed a couple of Howling Blasts, but they just don't have the follow-up. They want that range of Cassia, making it difficult for them to get in there and apply the damage. 12 to 11, Fnatic trying to find one more fight before they lose their fort. Lauber just holding that front line, being the tank that he can be.
Just giving you a bit of an idea, we have 40,000 damage by Tracer, so DAB with 40k damage compared to the 27,000 that we're seeing on Cassia right now. So as long as, once we're talking about hyper carries here, Tracer had way more of an effect right now. And that might change later on when we have Pierce coming online for Cassia once the talents start to tickle in. But at this point, Tracer is just a nuisance that Fnatic is having a tough time to deal with.
Have a bit of a lull here from our teams. Trying to see the next move for Fnatic. 13, obviously, a big point for them to get. There are mercenary camps for them to move into and grab, but DAB is keeping eyes on them to make sure they're not moving into it. When does this composition get scary, though, for Leftovers? Is it when Tyrael gets Holy Ground at level 16? Is that when Fnatic can finally get the targets they want?
I mean, not only that, the power spikes for Cassia are going to, Cassia is going to become way stronger in the damage output the more she gets these talents. Cooldown reduction in general, but also having the ability to go for Pierce is going to be great for her. Then Tyrael, as you mentioned, but Arthur's as well. Just overall, this setup is extremely tanky and difficult to kill. And at some point, I feel Fnatic is just flipping the switch. The Holy Ground after 16 in particular is going to allow them to set so many traps. And all they need in the end is just one good connect with the Valkyrie too. But so far, Linked has been absolutely on top of his game and always dropped that that cleanse whenever it was needed.
Cleanse helping out, and also that movement speed at level 1, staying away from that Valkyrie, not getting caught out by it. Support getting caught would be deadly for Leftovers. Immortal has been started as Leftovers move in for a little bit while Cassie and Ariel grab the 13 on the top lane and get that lane pushing in as they had to clear up the mercenary camp. They come back and defend, and Leftovers backs up and goes back to poking.
Mena now has the Thunder Gods Vigor on level 13, so that's the cooldown reduction I've been talking about. If he hits those, that is going to be an issue. Early palm here by Quadnix. That was a little bit premature. Doesn't get procced, but he's still safe for now. Keeps himself alive. Ancestral had also to be used. Breeze aggressively moving forward with the Sanctification. Good job by him. And Bad Benny moves in with it as well. A lot of the ults are already being dropped here. And every time it's DAB on Tracer. In, out, gets the damage in, drops the Pulse Bomb. And just overall makes it so rough for them.
The tug of war continues. 1-to-1 in kills. As the double supports continues to keep both these teams alive, can't find that opportunity to find the actual kill itself. Python's coming back in here. He will be having his Divine Palm in about 20 seconds. A Howling Blast connects on Murden. Cleanse comes out, he jumps away.
Cleanse comes out, and that means that Cleanse is now down for in a minute, whereas we have 10 seconds for Valkyrie to come back in. There's the kill against Tracer already. Even without it, we are having the pressure, and that might be it. Immediately, Fnatic moving in. Blake Kidney on Greymane, dodging the Howling Blast, gets hit by another Lightning Fury, but still survives, and Fnatic is saying, hey, with that kill, we are going in. This Immortal is ours.
Containment strike with Smexy helping secure the takedown. Immortal gets burned down, and everyone from Fnatic backs up. 10 more seconds until Tracer is back on the field here. Another connect on Murden. Doesn't matter too much. Just trying to buy some space here so they can turn around and work on the Immortal that they have a substantial lead on.
Yeah, they're trying to at least get a few of the hit points of the shield away, but overall the Immortal is, of course, ending in the hands of Fnatic.
And it was huge, too, because Greymane, taking so much damage, went down to under a quarter health, and he had to back to heal up, which means less shields getting burned down with this Immortal. Fnatic will have their second Immortal of the game, I believe. Leftovers only haven't won the entire time, and we're going to see what they can do with this.
It's a big one. Huge shield for them as well now. 16 is not there for Leftovers yet. I love how they're actually trying to get maybe a kill against Bad Benny if he moves out here, but he stays behind the gate outside of vision too. So right now, yeah, that was... It's always pretty rewarding when you hide and you are playing it safe, and all of a sudden you see 4 heroes coming out of the fog, and you're just like patting your own shoulder and saying like, yeah, that was a good choice, not trying to go for that way.
Yeah, you become a librarian. You read your opponent so well. You feel successful there. Leftovers do have 16 right around the corner, but after an attempt at trying to make a play on the top side, will be forced to come back and defend this Immortal. The shields are about to expire, but the Valkyrie comes out. Cleanse hits on Murden.
Yeah, cleanse every single time. But now it's down, so that's something that they might be able to exploit. 4-man Howling Blast comes in. The tower drops, and Fnatic might reach 16 first. They're going for Lauba again. He drops the Avatar, tries to utilize it. Already, Sanctification could be used here, but Breeze holds it back a little bit longer as Quadnix is still putting the pressure onto Tracer.
Yeah, Smexy just providing the heals in the back line, keeps topping off everyone here from Fnatic to keep as the one to be focused down. Archon has been utilized here to try and stop the Immortal, but it is not enough. They'll turn around and keep working on it, and Fnatic is happy with what they just received there. We'll be able to back up. Now, big power spikes coming in at level 16 here. The Holy Ground and also the Wave 100 Fist on Kharazim. Now, if Tracer ever oversteps, Kharazim's going to dive in and get a kill.
Yeah, this is really the moment when it becomes incredibly scary for the Leftovers, because we have so many tools. Wave 100 Fist alone is already very scary, but then you also have Pierce at the same time, completing Mena's Lightning Fury build. And at this point, it's just all about another cleanse. Well done, yes, Valkyrie comes in. They're going for the camp. Breeze could still use Sank, but he doesn't. He still holds it back, and Quack is really on top of the damage right now. With all of the damage talents and the Wave 100 Fists coming in, he goes for it. And this time the palm that he throws out procs as Greymane tries to go for a counter kill.
Do have the pulse bomb coming out. Aegis will stop that. We do keep Mane out of the fight for a little bit longer, but he's still full and healthy when it comes out of the crystal. Davey being hit here with a couple of spears being pierced. Labra on the top side trying to retreat, but a Holy Ground keeps him in while Tracer is taken away.
Tracer loses the one-on-one against Cassia, and Cassia has really started to ramp up the damage output. 54,000 for Mane now that he has access to his 13 and 16. We still see Tracer as the dominant damage dealer in the game with 61,000, but over the entire setup of heroes that we're currently seeing here, you can really tell that it becomes more and more difficult for Leftovers to engage into the team fight, as Fnatic just now has on every single one of their heroes, either a massive amount of damage or sustain.
Yep, the 16 power spikes are very apparent, continuing to win the team fights and finally getting the kills they were looking for. Grab the opposing mercenary camps, get those pushing in, take them away from their opponents so they don't have to defend it. This group of heroes for Fnatic is much better when they are clumped together. Getting the heals from the Ariel, Arctis sitting next to the Cassia, Kirazim can land the peels that he wants, and of course the Divine Palm. Let's get ready for this next Immortal phase as it pops up now and it's in defensive positions.
Yeah, and right now the lead in experience goes to Fnatic. They have to keep it the bot lane. That's a big asset to have, as the Leftovers will eventually be forced to the bot lane to deal with it. And Greymane is currently taking that job, trying to push the lanes out slightly, but that triggers the immediate response for Fnatic, as they are starting to move in and applying some free damage onto Lauber.
Constant pokes coming from Mane. Poking where they can. Breeze finds a Holy Ground to section off Tracer. Stormbolt comes out into an attack. Going to be an Aegis and a Palm to save Breeze. A bit of an overlap between the two teammates.
That's something we already saw in Infernal, and it's really a point that they need to be working on, because they throw ults out without talking about it. There's not really a lot of synergy in those cases. Yeah, now on the other hand, Sang comes down, but again Linked saving the front line here. Lauber, of course, also healing Static, keeping him in play, but Blake Kidney is low and he goes down as Cassia gets another kill. Mane just getting kills left and right at this point.
Smexy with the heals continually saving everyone as they group up. Mane almost falls there. My golly, with two supports still almost getting junked by that pulse bomb. That's how much damage you can put out. But they do keep all five up and healthy, and after a tap, they can move forward, look at the Immortal, and respond to Leftovers.
And of course the bot lane is something that forces the Leftovers back as well. Right now they're going to lose the halftime show here. They're going to attempt to make a play once that the positions have changed. But we have now Palm and also Aegis back up. So another two ults that can be used to really save a target. Tracer isn't ready for another pulse bomb yet, but once that's the case, both of the supports have tools to deal with it.
Greybane's still not up, but Leftovers have to make something happen. DAB moves in. Working on that pulse bomb that you were mentioning. Lauber's able to jump out, just barely there, escaping from the Holy Ground. But that opens up Fnatic to move in to the top, apply a little bit of damage here, and wait for Leftovers to come back in.
And Mane is still poking here. This build is so powerful after 13 and 16, and as long as he stays in the back and doesn't get picked off, he just provides the damage. And that provides also, of course, the energy that Oriel needs to get those constant heals out. Breeze is, by the way, taking so much damage at that front. He's really doing a great job soaking damage here, not even putting Arthas into that position.
With Leftovers having all five members, they are doing their best to poke, and they're bringing up a little bit more aggression than we've seen all game. Stormbolt lands on Bad Benny. He doesn't freak out and pop Army the Dead, comes back to his teammates. The trust is very, very apparent.
Yeah, it definitely is. By the way, Smexy has 92,000 heal at this point. 92,000. And then we have 64,000 Kirazim. Compare that to 62,000 for Linked. And then outside of that, of course, it's only Tacita shields. It's so difficult to kill Fnatic here. And once again, they're moving in. The Ancestral comes out to save Greymane. Lauber jumping out, keeping himself alive the entire time with a healing Static over and over again, using his sustain tools here. But the chase is on, and Greymane is dead.
The Holy Ground to lock him in, the Sanification to make sure no one takes any more damage. DAB's getting close to a Pulse Bomb, but it might be too late as Murden is the next target. Quitenix wants to bring out the punch. He's slowed down for now. Holy Ground chasing here. Breeze wants to get towards him, but Murden straight's about to kick in, and he'll have a jump. Finally, Quack gets in there for the attacks, but Lauber is still alive.
The problem is he's just staggering the death at this point. They're actually letting him go. I could have seen him chase him down and just delay the kill a little bit to stagger the death here and make sure that it's a constant 4 versus 5 in their favor. Yeah, but they probably were a bit afraid of the rest of the Leftovers making a move to maybe kill someone. At this point, Mirrodin still goes back, but it's... the Immortal is taken, and that's the big issue. We'll move through the top lane. There is still a keep, That also means, though, that if the keep falls, Fnatic will hit 20.
Is Leftovers getting to a point here where they have to just fight behind the Immortal and try to wipe?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because once it depends on how much they can really take away from the shield of the Immortal. Once that the keep falls, 20 should be ready for Fnatic. And if they can move in with the Immortal and the 20 advantage towards the core, I don't think the Leftovers can stop them. But they try to fight this head-on. They are not trying to flank here, so they go for a head-on approach. Already DAB in the back, needs to be careful. This time Valkyrie connects too, but still Blink Kidney moving away.
The Holy Ground, Lock and Tracer on the side, almost getting caught there, but they cleanse from Link to keep Tracer alive. DAB goes in, gets in melee and the pulse bomb, but Bad Benny survives it. The heal cops coming out. The keep is low and under a quarter health. It is definitely being taken away. Can Leftovers hold this?
Not anymore. Here's the 20. The 20 advantage to get over the Immortal. That should be it. Unless Tracer finds the kill now. And DAB is trying. He's really trying. 6 kills against 1 overall. Here comes the Sanctification. Perfect timing by Breeze. They go for the core. And Leftovers are about to lose the game here. They're trying their best to delay, to somehow save the game, but it's not happening. Fnatic takes the 3-0 victory over the Leftovers.
A little rocky from Fnatic, but they still get the clean 3-0 over their opponents. Some overlapping heroics, probably the theme of the game today. We saw that in game number 2 and game number 3, so they definitely have some homework themselves here, but Fnatic still looking great as a roster. But I'm more impressed with Leftovers today, coming out against Fnatic, who is believed to be in the top 2 here in HGC, and they made some very commanding movements, especially in their macro. Leftovers, man, big change from Friday to today.
Definitely a huge improvement. So they looked strong today, much stronger than they did on the first day. But for Fnatic, as you said, they have still a lot of strengths that we know where they really played well. Looking at the way that they presented themselves on Infernal and on Battlefield of Eternity, I would definitely agree that when it comes to heroic abilities and them trying to sync up cooldowns, there is a little bit of work that they have to do. We saw Aegis and also Kerosene Palm being thrown out. The Palm a little bit too often, even not when it was necessarily needed. That is understandable since you want to make sure that you stay alive. If Tracer gets the kill, then everything falls apart. You have 2 supports, so you can sacrifice one of the cooldowns. But the overlap that we saw in Aegis and Palm, and on the first game where they dropped 4 cooldowns to try and get a kill
on a Rhaegar.
On a Rhaegar, that worked out, but then it was a counter kill because they dropped everything on him. That was a bit of an issue, and that's something that a team that plays on a higher level than the Leftovers would have punished more.
Well, with it all said and done, though, Fnatic still gets to 3-0 and comes out and will continue to move up in the standings here. And you got to be impressed with them. They're moving up, being a team, bringing that synergy together. Bad Benny working on that offlaner, and Quack even showing off some Kirazim today in that flex role. We'll see him continue to work on it. But gotta say, man, HGC this weekend already nice and finished up. So far, who has been your favorite team to watch? Who had the most improvements, etc., etc.?
Dignitas was, of course, fantastic. We don't really have to highlight that more, I feel. I would say that Tricked is the team that I'm the most curious about at this point, since I believe their improvement from last year to this year already shows. Zealots also were very, very interesting, and of course Team Liquid now is starting to make plays for the top. All the mid 4, Zealots, Tricked, Method, and Team Liquid, those 4 teams are the ones that I'm looking at the most at this point, just because I think they will have very, very close battles against each other, and all of them looked as if they can make a huge leap in the standings towards the end of Phase 1. So it's going to be a great battle between the 4 of them.
Yeah, Dig, Fnatic, Team Liquid were the first looks for me. Obviously, just looking at them and going right forward, right? They're Europe when you ever think about them. But Method, really love to see what happened with them and how they played this weekend. But now my eye is definitely on Leftovers. I just really love the dramatic improvement from Friday to Sunday and how difficult it is to come into HGC and still make that big of a statement against Fnatic. I don't know. They made me happy today. I might be still a little on the fresh side because I just watched their game, but I think for them, I'm definitely keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, with Fnatic, the one thing that stands out is that even though they already put a lot of time in with all the roster changes and especially the role changes that they had, there's still some work to do. Quacknix is probably the one that will have to work the hardest since he is picking up a huge variety of new heroes. As you said, we saw him on Medivh, we saw him on Karazim, for example. So very different heroes from what he played before, and he also has to adjust to those play styles. So that's definitely something where he individually has to put in a lot of work to get on that level where he can perform perfectly on them. But them as a unit, they are looking strong, but there is still work to be done, as we could see.
Bus playing Artanis. That makes me happy here. Best player to come out this weekend. And still Shad still dominates on every hero that he plays. I don't know what it is about Shad, man, but I love watching that guy play every time.
Yeah, Shad is amazing, but for me it's weird to now see him in that new role, because I feel before he always brought, I don't know, in the times of old, it was his Vikings play, his Avatar play, you know, like these
the weird things.
Yeah, the weird things that he brought in, where it was just like fun because he always came up with new ideas, and that's something that we are missing out on a little bit. But he showed great plays in the support role as well, and it makes me happy that they as a unit looked strong.
Well, we're getting a little off track here. Let's go ahead and go to Quacknix here, who is now celebrating his victory over the Leftovers. Quacknix, a long time no see, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. You know, just chilling here, watching video games as you guys continue to pop out the wins. You get a 3-0 today, but we can be a little bit honest with each other. It seemed a little messy at points, some overlaps and heroics here and there. How are you feeling with this roster?
I mean, it's actually really echo for me.
The roster is echoing?
Can you hear the
echo? Or the audio? No, I hear no echo.
No, the audio is... I can't concentrate.
Well, you're fine if you can talk about just your team.
Can you just ask the question again, and I'll try to ignore the echo?
Yeah, your team and your roster. How does it feel to be on the new roster?
Okay, so it feels really good with the new roster. Mene and Benny is coming in hot. We still have done a lot of what is it called? Changes, like with me going over to Flex and Mene going full on range, and Benny, yeah, having to adapt in that regard from main tank to melee. But I think we're starting to get the grip of everything. We're starting to find how we want to draft, and shot calling is coming back pretty hot. So yeah, we're doing okay.
Awesome, good to hear. I'm going to try and stop this echo. Caldor, short and sweet for Quacknix.
Your opinion on Hanzo?
I think Hanzo is pretty strong, but I don't think he should be as highly contested as he has been the past days. He wasn't actually that highly contested in general in scrims, I feel. But the past couple of days, he just popped up and he's in every game pretty much. But I think he can really punish if you don't know how to draft him and draft him on like big open maps. But yeah, if he's uncontested, he's super strong.
Okay, since we have some problems with the connection, thank you very much, and I'll let you go right there. So yeah, thanks for that, Quack.
Awesome. Shoutouts, all you.
I just want to give a shout out to my team, good performance, and I want to tell Leftovers that they had a good showing as well. We were actually quite impressed at their power level. We expected it to be a bit easier. So yeah, mad props to them. I think they have a lot of potential, but I mean, let's get down to the real stuff.
And he's back. Big shout-outs there from Quacknix. Congratulations on their victory. Even Quacknix coming in here and saying, Leftovers, your power level a little bit higher than we expected.
The one thing that makes me sad all the time is when we have a team like Leftovers. We saw it with Zealots as well, or earlier with Tricked against Dignitas. And you really see how they play extremely well, but they don't take a map.
Yeah.
And if you look at the score, it looks like insanely one-sided, and it is because one team is just on a different level, but overall it's super impressive how some of the teams have presented themselves here. And it's also, again, interesting to hear his thoughts on Hanzo, since as we came in on Friday, that's exactly the same idea that I came in, of course, watching more than 150 games over the last few weeks, just the exact same opinion. Hanzo can be strong, but the way that he was drafted and banned as one with such a high priority over Friday and also Saturday seemed a bit weird. Now, we have seen Fnatic and also Dignitas play in the last series. Hanzo didn't even play a role, so it's going to be interesting to say the least to see what happens towards next week, because now a lot of the teams that have played will look at all the games here and will integrate a lot of the things that they've learned into their scrims for next week. So the meta is definitely going to start to solidify itself when we come into the second week of HGC Europe, and that's going to make it super interesting to see what the teams decide they want to do there.
Well, speaking of next week, we have the schedule for Friday when we come back here to start week 2 in HGC Europe. The day will be opening up with a big one. Method and Fnatic will be our first series of the day. Afterwards, Team Dignitas makes a return here, and they'll be playing against a Diamond Skin. Later on in North America, Tempo Storm Team 12, Team Freedom, and Heroes Hearth.
For an A, Tempo Storm versus Team 12 is definitely going to be the highlight. That will be a super interesting match to watch. But on the Europe side, I would say Method versus Fnatic. With everything that Dignitas already said about Method as a team, that's something that I'm looking forward to. Also because there are still a couple of Kings and Fnatic's play that they have to smooth out, and we'll see if they can manage to do that within 1 week.
So make sure you're here. Not a bad way to start your Friday next week. But that's it for me and Caldor. Hopefully you enjoyed HGC Europe. It was a blast to be here. Coming up next, North American HGC.